You should be recording. Red light on? Red light's on. Okay. First step. You want to keep that end down and you want to get this out of the way. So, pull back on the handle, see the wheels? And rotate it so that you can roll it in this direction. And then rotate it again so you can place it on top. Now I have to, okay, here. Let me show you. See, it got caught, and look what happened. So you're going to have to, okay, now, looks good. If the wheels are in the back, and what I do at the end is I lift up and move it forward. I lift up so it doesn't drag the thing, so wreak havoc to it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't have to be that close, but that's fine. Okay, next thing. We get to close this up. So release the bungee ball up there. And I wouldn't pull from that end because you want to pull from this end. And hook it up to there. Okay, then that hooks the next one up. And you want to get it as far, yeah, you want it inside. Basically because you want the others inside. Okay, well, you know, put the others and we'll adjust the whole thing after you get them all hooked up. The important one is the bottom ones on the inside. That's it. You flatten it out. And then, now I shouldn't be able to see you doing that. Okay, then make sure that the is behind the rail. And just go on up as you're doing it. Yeah. And now I'll get the top. And the top one is behind it. So with this setup, and once you stand up, and then you just see it went flat when you did that. Okay. Now for the robot. Step number 1. Lift this up, show it to the camera. You can see what you're showing the camera.
Oh, this?
Yeah, no, lift that up, show it to the camera. Now put it here so that, and open it up, and then there. Okay. Now, I should be able to lift this up if I'm careful. Yes, I did. Without pain. Okay. This is the cloth that I set down first. So I'm going to let you do that. Now, the cloths are longer than they are wide. And it goes 1, 2, 3. And you'll see why once you get them set up. Yeah. Now, take them all apart like this. Okay? Let's make sure we've got room. If you unfold them, and then here, okay, and then all you got to do is spread the bottom one, and then lift the next two up, and move them over. And there should be some overlap. The whole idea is you want to minimize the contact with the hard plastic of the robot. Okay. Next thing, see where the zippers are?
Yep.
Lift the whole thing up so that the zippers are, that's good. The way that you're standing it right now, lift all that up. Okay, now turn your body so that you can put it right next to the net. Yeah, totally on the, now put both zippers down. Okay. Now, stand away so that the camera can see this. This is connected up, or this is held in up here and here. See that the pads are behind this rim? And this is supposed to hold the two sides together. You can't lift by it, but it holds the two sides together. So when you're taking it out, you can push back, hold this together, push back, and then rotate it out and pick it up and set it right there. Now I'm going to reverse the process and let you do it. Okay, so get the top out and then lift the whole thing out. Yeah, rotate the top towards your body so that you've got, and don't worry about that holding together because it won't. And just lift up the robot. Don't even worry about that falling down.
Bottom?
Yeah. Now put it right there beside it. Ah, now see, if you were quicker, this wouldn't have fallen down. Okay? Now, this step. The robot, we don't need the inside until we don't need this anymore until we, so what I do is I hold here, about halfway up. Okay, I'm going to hold lower until it catches. And then I take it up here halfway. I do the same thing on this side. And I'm not going to bother having you do it because, okay, now, this can go off, be put over there with a pocket facing away from the wall. That's it. Now, there's a plastic bag in there. Pull the plastic bag out in the camera, and this contains the cable and extra pads. Depending upon the thickness of the table, the pads you'll see in a moment where they go. It contains 4 of them. There you are. So, pull that out and set that in here.
The cable?
Just the cable in there. No. Just the cable in there. Here. That's it. And fold it up and put it back so that we don't have anything fall out. Okay, that's not a good idea. And the reason is we're going to put the tiles back in.
Oh.
So it's best, instead of putting it in sideways, put it in that way. That's it. Okay, now, the next part is getting the robot set up. See here, there's a side restraint. If I left balls in here, this would keep the balls from flowing out, I think. Well, they wouldn't come out very quickly. And there are 2 of them. Now I loosen, see the hand strap? I loosen that, oh it's up here. I loosen it up, rotate it down, and that lets me lift this and put it down here. So, you get to do it on both sides. And let it rotate all the way down. Rotate that, the top strap?
Yeah.
Rotate it around so that it doesn't, so it's like that. Because we don't need that anymore until we put it away. I think it'll go further. See? Now, you can pick it up at this stage. Okay? You can pick it up and rotate it so that this end is facing you. Now, you didn't pick it up far enough because you dragged the... There. Now do the same thing on the other side. Lift up. Okay, now we're ready to get... There are 2 pieces of controls in here. Now we're ready to get them out. Okay, so here and here, these will come up and go out. Okay? And that gives us access to this. I've got it locked down by the thumb screw right here, which you probably can't see on the video. And now it's not locked down. And so then this rotates forward. When you get resistance, this comes out, and you can put it in here temporarily. Okay, there's one other item that's in here. See where this is? Directly at the bottom. And And then when this comes out, you can undo the cord, because pretty soon we're going to be using it. All three pieces I put in here because it's a convenient place to put them. Now you can do this on either side of the table. I've done it on this side of the table because I'm a lefty, and I get the balls with my right hand. Whereas you're going to be probably putting the box of balls on the other side of the table. Now, that this is done, we leave this in, close this up, temporarily put the strap back on, and then see it's going to go over there with this over and this these under. This over, these under. So I rotate it in that direction, and then I come over here and lift it and center it, and at this stage you may want to loosen it up so that you can see in between, okay? Because I'm going to let you fiddle around with it to get it adjusted right. There's a center line here that should match the center line on the table. So go ahead, and if you destroy stuff, that's okay. I mean, it's only a $600 robot and a $1,000 table. And you can get it on. Now you're going to have to tilt it to get the top in. You tilt it so that, yeah, see? Yeah, that's it. You need to move it forward so that it's got more. You've only got about half an inch. Continue, okay. If you want to see that it can be done, I'll show you. You got it. Now, set it down and make sure it rests. Okay, now put your hands underneath the bottom there and make sure that the two hooks that are underneath are as wide apart as possible. I suggest doing them both at the same time, and you can do it. Okay, now you can center it. Now I look through it. That's what I do. I look through it to center it. Okay, the next thing, and we're pretty close to having it set up, is these in the center come out and go in here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so wreak havoc. And you can see that each of the receiving poles are slotted, and so there must be an indentation. Now, if they're both down as far as they can go, you can lift up the right side of the right tray, and let's see what happens, how far down it will fall. Don't let it fall. Let it go down, hold it so that it doesn't fall completely. Now, if something's blocking its way, it's probably the side thing. Okay, now, take the side thing out and unravel it to go over there. Now, see the tab at the bottom? The tab at the bottom goes on the table edge, it fits in the slot down there. Yeah, you put it over the net and make sure the tab fits in the bottom. Yeah, you got it. Now you just repeat the process with the other side. Again, it's not going down all the way, which probably means that that's blocking it. Now, before you repeat the process, I want to show you one thing. Look at this right here, Velcro, and Velcro with plastic. That's because the balls, that's a modification I put in based upon contract with the factory. It may have been fixed in the later Robo-Pong 2040s. But the balls still, they flow into the bottom easier from the right-hand tray than they do from that tray.
Oh, okay.
And so I put that in there to make it flow easier. And I may adjust it again because it's not quite working. So now the same thing, you straighten that out and repeat the procedure over the net and the tab in the slot. Now you're going to go into final adjustment phase. But before you do, put the tiles on top of each other. We're just going to undo what we did before. Fold it in half towards you. And then fold it in half again. Now stick it with the, that's it. That works out. What I do is I do it like this. Because I want to pull out without catching my finger on anything. And that's an easy pull out. Okay. The best cable that is available over there, the orange one on top, pull that out. Unravel it behind the table. And when you unravel it, I just let it drop. No, not the end, because you want the end because you're going to plug that into you're going to plug it into the outlet. But let it drop and see how much. Yeah. Now plug it into the bottom outlet. Now you can unravel it, and on the way, stick it over, it can go underneath the crossbar. And I do this from the side of the table. Underneath the crossbar.
Oh, this one?
Yep. The one between the two sides.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
here.
which is still under that. Then behind that.
Is it?
Yep. Now behind the center post. And now behind the others, just the same way you had it before. Okay, and let it go on the floor. You don't need it all the way back. Okay. Step number 2. The cable that's in the box of balls, pull that out. Go behind the robot, unravel it, and that's what they call a DIN connector. Okay? So, I'll show you. See this opening there? This goes in here. And if I'm correct, if you look at that, you'll see that there are connectors here, but there aren't any connectors there. And you can stick it right through a slot and rotate it until it goes in easily. What I'm hoping is with the video and with us doing it and you doing most of the work, you'll be able to do this on your own, in case you want to. Now stick it through, and what I suggest is that you stick it on top of the crossbar between the two sides. Now you can pull it through the same way you did before. And now you put it over that top. Yeah, you got it. Okay, now take the control box and plug it into there. And put the control box back in the box of balls. Okay, now take that transformer and plug it into, that's it, you got it. Okay, now plug that into the control box. Now, power it on. Okay, let go, turn it off. Now explain to you, you understand the three controls on the far left as you're looking at it is speed and spin, the two together. The center is frequency, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That's the rate at which it tosses balls at you. And the last one, oscillation, I'm going to have to show you something about that. But before I show it to you, we'll put this in position on the table for serving. So, here's where it goes. You want it as far away from you as possible. And I usually do this with 2 hands because I'm a flux. So there it fits in smoothly. Now let's see how far forward it'll go. How far backward it'll go. This is where you would want it typically if you were going to be controlling it while you're hitting. Because, okay? But because of the way that we move the wires, you can put this on the right-hand side. I just did it for the left-hand side. You know, as a lefty, I put it on the right-hand side. It's the right-hand side as you look at it, which is not the side that you would want it on. So, being as you're pretty savvy, why don't you move this over to the right-hand side? You didn't have to do that. Let me show you. One of them can go, okay? Or they can both go out, but here, there, all you gotta do is this. Okay? And so this could have been put in right away. Now, I get to drag along with the controller. Here, you got plenty of slack. There. Okay. I'll plug it in. Now you get to set it on the table. You twisted the wires. About there, see how far, once you get it set up, slide it forward and see how far it'll go forward. That's about as far forward. So that's the position I leave it in when I'm serving. Because as a righty, if you're serving from here, you're never going to have that interfere. Whereas if it's here, it may interfere. Okay, now we do the test. Is it still functioning? On. Off. Okay, last item. For control of the robot. And we'll cover this again once you start. Oh, the other thing is, do you have pockets today?
Yeah.
What I do, which you don't have to do, is I put a dozen balls in each pocket. And that's the way I count. If there are any balls that are on the table that haven't gone into the trays, then I pick up, once I finish the 2 dozen balls, I pick those balls up, put them back in my pocket, and serve them again. Because that gives me another chance. Okay, so move the box of balls over for a righty. With the holder, you can just lift up the whole thing.
Alright. Okay, on the other side?
Yeah, put it on the other side, Now, if you're pulling them out of serving, so you can put them closer to the end of the table, so you can get to them. Okay, last thing to show you. This now, the thumb screw is loose. Okay. This is Velcro that I don't usually leave attached. It closes up the opening, but this lets you access the thumb screw and the head at the same time, so it's loose so that I can adjust it up and down. And now this thing is set for top spin. I'm going to put it up fairly high initially and lock it down. Now what I'd like you to do, can you see the numbers in the circles on these levers? Inside the circles and the numbers there? Now and you read this, can you figure out what the different things do? Okay, here. It's the oscillator, exactly. And 3 and 4 goes from one end to the other. 3 and 4. 1 and 4 only covers that side of the court. 3 and 6 covers that side of the court. So if you want to play, right now it's set on 3 and 4, which is a full court. If you wanted to play 1 and 4, what you would do is this. You go over here and the balls aren't going to be spit at you until you turn on ball frequency. And it won't spit any now because, see, that turns it off. But this is always on. The other thing is that the oscillator is always on. So and I've got the ball frequency turned off. So if you wanted to go 1 and 4, you would put the head into the 1 and 4 position. And then, because if you don't do that, you could break the levers. Okay? So 1 and 4 and 1 and 5 look like they're the same, but I'm not sure. So anyway, I'm going to 1. Now I'm back to 3. And you can kind of see how much pressure I'm putting on it, which isn't much. And it's moving a little bit. Okay? So what I'd like to do is I'd like you to do it now. Well, I don't watch because if you get nervous, you'll break it.
Okay. Is that 1 and 4?
It's the 1 is in the left-hand circle, lever. Now test it out by going there and turning on the oscillator. Now at this stage, you may want the oscillator back. Yeah. Or in the center of the table, which you can do from where you are right now. Because you want to, you may want the remote, the control back. Because here you may not be able to see it as well. So, if you go underneath, like, let go, I got it, like this, then you can come out here, somehow, there you go, and it looks like it's a little off, but it's pretty close. Okay. Now, playing around with this, why don't you go, and I won't tell you anything except that before you set it for something, make sure the head is in the area that it's set for. Like, even if I were going to set it for this side, I would have it as far to the center as possible. Okay? You're on. Play around with it. Because this isn't the only time you're going to do it. And, get it, once you may have to, see, the oscillator knob controls the speed of oscillation, not the beginning and the starting point. That's done with the levers.
Okay.
So if you have a higher speed, in other words, a higher number, it's going to go back and forth, and it's going to hit at a certain spot based upon the ball frequency. So you can use those two controls, ball frequency, to time where you want the balls to go, if the robot's functioning perfectly. But have you been on the robot before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know that it's not spitting balls out. Sometimes it quits spitting balls out and you got to wait on it. But you're going to get to play around with all of that stuff. Okay? So when you're satisfied that you've played around with the oscillator enough, then we'll go on.
Yeah.
The oscillator and the levers. Because I'd like you to, while I'm here, because I may be leaving on you so that I don't inhibit your style, so to speak. Just take your time. Don't rush it. I mean, it's confused me as well a bunch of times. And I'm easy to confuse. but I've also figured it out a bunch of times. Like, I'm curious as to the difference between 1 and 4 and 5 and 1, and 1 and 5. It looks to me like it's the same thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I would check it out to see if they're different. And once I have the lever set up, then I go back to the remote control and set it up and just test it out with that. Again, whatever you've got it set to, you want to test. I would recommend that you test it out on the remote control. Now this is a lot right now, but once you've been using the robot a couple of times, is that 1 and 5?
3, 5.
So it's going to the center of the right side and the center of the left side?
It
Could be. Okay, the other thing is, notice the red tape or the blue tape on here? On the floor?
Oh, yeah.
It's set in game position right now, which reduces the amount of backspace. If you want to have it set to be able to let you back up more, it looks like you've got about 2 feet extra that you can move, that we can move the table. And I set the tape up there so that you could get behind the table and have it moved in to make adjustments and get balls and do whatever had to be done, take it down, put it up.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've done that we didn't do is I've made sure that there haven't been coils of cord, the extension cord, that we could trip over, that I could trip over when I go back there.
Oh.
So if you're satisfied that you're not going to trip over any of those loops, you're fine. And let me know when you're finished playing around with. You can always play around with that later.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, then put the remote control back, and we'll get set up to record your practicing. And what day is today? Okay, did you turn off the oscillator completely and turn off the ball frequency is off? Just turn the oscillator down to, it goes, the way you're looking at it now, you turn it counterclockwise. I guess every way you look at it, you turn it counterclockwise. And now put it over on the side again. Hello, Kurt. Good, and how's you?
I'm good.
Great. Okay, now let me give you my philosophy of serving. And after I give you my philosophy, we'll set up the camera on the other side. When I've been watching the high-level pros, one of the things I noticed was that the ball doesn't go very high over the net. When you're practicing your serve, I think if you get more serves that hit the top of the net, and if you get a serve that hits the top of the net, you're close to it. If it hits the top of the net and just goes over, you're really much closer. And I would rather have that happen and wean myself off of hitting the top of the net, because then you've gotten the ball as low as you can get it going over the net. The second thing, one of the things I've noticed on the serve is whether or not they're putting the spin on without wrist snap or with wrist snap, their strokes are very short. They get their racket in position, and what looks like backswing is actually positioning their racket. And they're doing this with the toss of the ball, and then they're going up to about where they expect to hit the ball to come down, and then they have a very short follow through. The purpose of all of that is to reduce the amount of time that the other person has to observe what's going on.
Right.
Okay. Now the last part deals with serve. And I think I mentioned this to you before. The ball should go nearly vertical. The ball has to rise at least 6 inches, or 16 centimeters, after it leaves your hand. But sometimes it's hard to tell if your hand and the ball are going up at the same time, and you can release the ball here, and the ball's going up, and then you pull your hand away. Now the other thing, which is, the nearly vertical is violated a lot. But when I was watching some of the really good players, they didn't violate the nearly vertical at all. The other thing is, according to section 2 on the service, you have to remove your hand from between the ball and the net, regardless of whether your hand's in front of the ball or not. That's because of the hidden serves. And I'm going to be putting together a compilation video of legal and illegal serves by the same people. And Waldner was really nice because when he was serving forehand back before it was illegal to hide the serve with your arm, he had his hand out and it hit, and the ball went under his arm. So he was hiding the ball in his racket for most of the time. But once it became illegal, he tossed the ball up and then he dropped his arm down very quickly. The speed at which you drop your arm down determines how much of an interference it is. And some of the people I noticed, they aren't dropping their arm down very quickly. So that you could still say it's that they've got their arm up there between the ball and the net. So it's an illegal serve. I haven't seen very many high-level players with much backswing at all in their serve. They're just positioning it. The serve that you were trying the other day is the most awkward serve on the face of the earth that I've only seen high-level players do. And that is the reverse forehand serve. Ah. I want to pull this over. And I think that'll get you. I want to move it down a little bit to get the light out, the overhead light. There. I'll let you see. That's it. Now, the awkward thing about this is that your backhand serves, why don't you hold this? Right-hander backhand serve, you see how you can see the ball?
All right.
Right-hander forehand serve, you can see the ball for the reverse, but for this, you're not going to see the ball. But the only other choice we have is to put it over there. It's up to you. I can either put it over here, which will get your backhand serves. From here, it'll get all of your backhand serves. No problem. If you're still serving from over here, it'll get your backhand serve. If you're serving from over here, it'll get your backhand serve. Your forehand serves, from here, it should get your forehand serves unless you go like this. And it still may get your forehand serves as long as your body's not in the way.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, let me put this back. Okay. One other thing, so I let you start doing your own thing. you got a choice when you serve. What my routine was, that I hit all the balls into the trays. But if I still wanted to practice serves, I would then go release the side net and pull out all the balls from one of the trays, and either pull the balls to me that are in the other tray, by going like, say that side's full and I'm on this side because I'm a lefty.
Yeah.
I get all the left-hand tray balls out, and then there's balls on the right-hand tray and in the center. I'll start pulling them towards me.
Oh, okay. Fair.
Until I get a group of them on the left-hand tray, and then I'll get them all out, and I'll put the box back there and I'll serve again. Now you may very well want to do that, and so then it's just setting up the net properly. I'm not satisfied with this net thing right here, because it shouldn't be taking the net down,
Yeah.
but it is a little bit. So even if you hit the net, or if you clear the net,
Maybe.
if it's like that much higher, without that, and there's, okay, so that tells you about that. That tells you about getting the balls. Also, see how far off that is?
Alright.
Okay, so what I do is I lift it up and just move it a little bit. That's closer. Now the thing that's going to give you the giveaway is, can you start off with this? Now after you hit a few balls, this may slip up. These are all Velcro, the attachments,
Alright.
so they can be adjusted. So I've adjusted this initial one first to be over. Okay? And now I'll adjust this one to be over. And they may go. You're going to end up with balls on the floor, no doubt about it. And you're going to end up with balls on the table. One other idea. You really want to have a variety of serves. If you practice a certain type of serve, what I would recommend, that's yours. Where's mine? I lost my racket.
Anyone else?
How could I have lost a racket? Oh, there it is. I was using yours. You do some serves, and basically you want the principle of the serve. And most of your serves are going to be side spin. The pull side spin is a typical forehand serve, like that you've done and you can do easily. And it's a side where you can put chop or top or just plain side. But then there's the push. The push is where you go out like that. Pull like this, where you're getting more vertical. Okay? Push, you're going like that, typically. But you can push to get the side spin, so it would go like that. Whereas this would go like that down the line. It'd be outside in. This would be inside out. And then you can get the chop on it by push chop, push top. So it's push, pull for chop, push, and you continue pushing away. So pull is basically into your body. Push is away from your body. Pull them towards you, push them away from you. Okay? You may want to consider those factors in there. The other component is, remember you got speed, spin, and trajectory. That you may want to fool around with what happens with the speed. You know, I think I talked to you about this before. If you go concave, or convex, or flat. All three of those are chops. The concave lets you have the most contact with the ball, regardless of whether you're doing it with a rapid arm motion or a rapid wrist motion. You can have the most contact with the ball, so you're going to get the most spin. But that spin may result in a decrease of speed, forward momentum. Now, the least I would say is the convex. But in order to do the convex chop, you've got to be behind the table so that your racket ends up here rather than ending up here and ruining your racket and ruining the table. Whereas with and this is still it's not really a pull in this case because it's not towards you, but it is more like a pull, whereas this is more like a push. Whereas this is going, the side spin would go, the outside inside would go into your body, so that's definitely a pull. Okay, now the top spin, the flat chop is going to provide an intermediate amount of spin between the concave and the convex. Okay, likewise with topspin, the concave topspin from, this to me, I don't know how to do it other than as a pull. I mean, as a push. You're pushing away from your body, ending up pushing away from your body. And going over it in a concave like this, you're staying in contact with the racket more. Whereas if you go like this, that's the convex. So you're going to have less contact with the racket and less topspin. And just a flat, you're going to have an intermediate amount of topspin. Because the less time the ball remains in contact with the racket, the less spin is going to be put on. Okay. So that's quite a bunch, but we've got it on the video. And I don't know if anybody uses the same terms that I do, but if you understand them, then I think you can see the value. And so part of it is looking at what type of serve you want to become more consistent with and get more control with. And even your errors are going to tell you. Like, if I do a backhand like this from here, which normally I would do the backhand from here, but in the games that I watched yesterday and today, the right-handers were doing backhands from their normal backhand side, they'd serve forehand from over here. They would also serve backhand from over here. But then some of these guys would serve backhand from over here, from the center, backhand from here, depending upon what they wanted the other person to receive. Additionally, I saw one guy who was fairly good, who was serving forehands from here, but he also served forehands from here, and he also served forehands from here. Now, what you may find out is some of the shots that you want to make, it's easier to see what's happening if you do the forehand from the center rather than from the side, because you've got the most room. I mean, if you're doing it from the side and you want it to go down the line, and it hits the net, that doesn't tell you much. But if your position is basically the same for forehand here as it is for forehand here, then when you're hitting it from here and it hits, this would be down the line, you know how wide you've gone. And that's why I've done it myself. I've done the forehand from the center. The other thing is there's a forehand which goes like this. It's like that, really whipping across fast. And it's easiest to do when you've got the longest distance, and it's a fast serve. So I practice it from over here as a lefty. You practice it from over here as a righty. And then when you get it down, the principle of that, then you can start applying it from here. Because this will give you you'll get the most learning experience on the control and what happens to the ball. And then when you've got that feeling in your body, over here will really surprise them, because if they're used to you going across court with the bottom side, heavy bottom,
Right.
which is typically a lot of times when you do that serve to someone, and they go heavy bottom, and you do the heavy bottom where it's like inside outside, they'll chop it back if it's got more bottom than it has side on it. So, now, the last thing is, where do you want your opponent to return the ball to you so that you have control? But with all these other things in there, that's the setup for doing the serve. And then the type of serve you're going to do will depend upon the player you're playing with, right? If you serve, like Andres had one the other day, I only got 1 out of 5, but I got it. It was a chop serve to my backhand. And I just really hit that sucker hard. Now I saw Matt Winkler do the same thing in a match that he played with a guy named Earl Alto. Both of these guys. Earl Alto was a 2,500 level player, and Matt's a 2,300 level player. And when that stroke goes over, man, it's and what was funny is that watching them play, they're making the same stupid mistakes that we do, only they're at such a higher skill level that they're not necessarily dealing with more spin. They just have more consistency, but they still are making mistakes at that level, 2,300, 2,500. Now Matt beat Earl Alto the first time they played in this tournament. He won in 3 games. The second time they played, Earl made adjustments, and they played 7 games. And Earl won in the 7th game. So, you're on your own. I'm going to stick around for a little while, so that if you have any questions, I count them because I want to have exactly a dozen, because then I know how many I have left to go in the box. And there may be about between 125 and 135. And the only request I have is, if you can avoid it, don't hit the table with your racket.
Oh, yeah.
All the shiny marks on there are where I got racket marks out of the table. And I'm going to try and not make any comments. So if you have a question, just ask me. But this is your time. And I want you to feel as free as you can during this time. I will make a comment. I'm not commenting on what you're doing. I'm just commenting on. You've got a Dell PC?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you have a very fortunate. You're going to have a very fortunate experience. I'm going to upload this video to YouTube. I'm also going to give you a link to download something called EliTTT Catcher. EliTTT Catcher lets you download YouTube videos and other videos to your PC.
Oh, okay.
Then you can play the video with VLC. VLC lets you slow the video down a whole bunch and still retain the audio. And that way you can slow down the service motion to see where the part is that you're doing right, that you like what you're doing, and where you're going off from what you want to do. So that's aside from the robot. Nice low ball. And what's slowing it down with VLC should help you is if you want to see how high the ball's going over the net.
All right, yeah.
Okay, what time do you have to leave?
Yeah, about 6.
Okay. That's an hour and 20 minutes. We spent a lot of time in prep. But you're the one that's going to have to decide whether it's worth it or not. Also, you can set the robot up. Once you start having the robot hit the U, that robot can wear you out in 7 minutes.
Okay.
You can get sending you balls so quickly by changing the
Yeah.
frequency that. Okay. I just let them be until you get ready to collect all the balls and hit another group of balls. You don't have to hit, if you decide you want to do more serves, you don't have to hit a whole second box. You can just fill the box up and hit as many as you want. Now, Andras is supposed to come out tomorrow morning, and I haven't decided whether I don't know whether I'm going to be able to hit or not. I may have him going on the robot. That was nice. It didn't have much backspin. That had a lot of backspin. I've got one idea for you. Let me hit a couple. I'll just take a few here. One of the things that I've done to minimize backswing is this. I put my racket in position. I don't want to see the bill. Okay. One player starts the ball here. That's illegal because the bottom of the ball is below the surface of the table. He doesn't release it until he gets above, but most of the other players, they start with their hand on the table and then they move it out. Okay. The idea here is to minimize. See, I have no backswing. So what I want to do is I want to get the ball up. Now, these are lousy serves. Now, I did move my racket in, but I had no backswing at all. Then you get the idea. That you can do things like that, minimize the motion and see what happens, and then you may want to increase your follow-through. But you'll get to the point where you don't have to do that, and it'll be much harder for the other people to read. I will warn you that if you get a bunch of balls that are touching that, and it usually happens on that side, you can get so many balls touching that the weight of the balls will pull that out and they'll all fall down. So you may want to stop that from happening by bringing up the balls before they do fall down. my idea is that you basically know what to do. All you need is practice doing it, and the feedback from the video will help you out. The other thing that you may want to notice in the videos is where the ball is hitting on your side of the table and where it's hitting on the other side of the table. Let me know when you get through that bucket of balls. Okay, let me show you before you get any more balls. Let me show you how to start and stop the camera. Because when you're picking up balls, you don't need to have it video that. And, okay.
Wait in there.
Yeah, you'll do it here. See the red light that's flashing on?
Yeah.
That tells you that it's recording. I hit this. There's a screensaver, something in here. So you just swipe it,
Oh, okay.
push this button. Hit the button, look to the right. Okay, your turn. Stop recording. Button at the top turns off the display.
Oh, okay.
Guess what? I'm leaving. You're on your own.
Oh, okay.
Is there any catastrophes? Yeah, but don't upset the neighbors. Okay? Are you okay with everything?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I think you should feel good that I'm leaving. Now, the only time you need to call me back is if you're ready to start having the robot hit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And this thing shows you how much time you have left.
Okay.
This should go off a little before 6 o'clock. Okay?
Perfect.
Okay, you're on your own.
All right.
Eli, I wish you the best. And I'm out of here. And I'll leave this open. There's nobody smoking, it can be open. Oh, I need my glasses. Well, I'd like my glasses. You might want to make some verbal comments to yourself on what you're doing before you do it, because it'll be recorded in a video. And that way, you can see if what you're trying to do is what you said you were going to do. Okay? You don't have to do that, but I've done it every now and then. But just because I've done it doesn't mean that you have to do it, for heaven's sake. Okay, that's it. doing what I did. You're having so much fun practicing serving. Said you've only got about 27 minutes left before you have to leave. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go out front and have a smoke. I'm not going to have it in here with you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm already there.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So I just a couple more minutes.
I'll wait on my smoke then. Nice hit. Yeah. Well, I won't wait on my smoke. However, just get all the balls in that are out anywhere into the racks. There's a ball behind, a couple balls caught in the net behind the robot that you'll want to move out as well. Yeah. Yeah, we don't need that. Yeah.
We put the balls in the box.
You can put them in, I use the box to pick up the balls that are there, and then you can throw them into the tray. It is recording. So, how do you feel about your experience today with the robot and serving?
Good. I just needed a repetition.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing about the robot is it's consistency. There is a slight variation, like it's not throwing the balls out regularly. Several times it'll stop. There are a few more over there in the corner. No, down there where you were going in the corner of the, yeah. And there's one under the table that you'll find easy to pick up. To me, there's a type of practice. You ever do multi-ball with Darren?
No, never.
Okay.
Got to that.
Multi-ball is just where the coach is tossing you the ball, and it really doesn't do much other than that, because the coach isn't putting any spin on the ball. So he's just tossing you a dead ball. Now, with somebody that plays really well, let me tilt this up, and there may be some balls that are under here. Any balls under there? Nope. Here are two more. And those can all go back on that.
You don't leave the balls in the robot?
No, they can leave them there. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. So, it's fine. Everything's fine the way it is, and we've got like a minute.
You want to leave it?
Sure.
Oh, are you going to leave it up then?
I'm going to leave it up,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I think I can put it away if I want to, but I may just leave it up for Andres tomorrow. There. Well, yeah, that can be unplugged. Do you see how a combination, like in the practices that we have, a combination of robot and playing, us hitting, or somebody else, we get other people who haven't done that yet, can really be beneficial, because you get with the practice with a human being, you get the inconsistency and you get more variety than you'll get with the robot. Also, in practicing games, you'll see if the strokes are actually working. Now, another thing that you'll notice about the robot is that you know what the robot's hitting to you every time. In the game, what you've got to do is read the other person. The other thing is, since the robot's consistent with the spin and the speed, that's part of what you know that it's hitting to you, whereas the human being won't be that consistent. And so it's learning a general principle, which is changing your response, the spin and speed you put on the ball, adjusting for the human being. And the thing about the human being is that the human being can hit it with more spin at the same place on the table. And so, the speed and the spin are the same, but they're hitting it in different locations on the table. And the only thing you can do with that is oscillation. Did you go any forehand, backhand? No.
No,
Not
I'll
really.
just jump in. But not.
Okay, because that's one of the routines I got into was hit forehand, hit backhand, hit forehand, hit backhand, and so on. And the other routine was hit underspin, hit, overspin, underspin, overspin. Once I could do the underspin and get a bunch of those in a row, and then do the overspin and get a bunch of those in a row, then I started switching off. Under, over, under, over. And the last thing I think, well, and I alternated that as well with switching between forehand and backhand. And you can see that keeping the ball where it's tossed in one position makes it much easier as you're starting out. Did you change the ball frequency at all?
No.
Yeah, because so you've got, I think you've got a fairly good introduction to a minimalist use of the robot,
Right.
where you serve all the balls into the tray, so you're practicing your serves. Once the balls are in there, then you have it do just one shot in one location. Now, if we get into the situation again where my back's out or I'm disabled for some reason, you still have this option. And if there are other times that you'd like to do it, and I'm going to be around but I'm not intending to play much because I'm doing other things, like if my back was okay, I would be doing some cleanup, deep cleaning in the house, and I would be doing yard work. But another thing that I think you'll find as you are playing more like with this is you'll start describing your experiences in more detail, because you'll have the words, you know whether you're hitting something with underspin. Like, was it easier for you to return the balls, these underspin balls, with underspin or topspin? Or after you had a few hits, was it just as easy?
Once you adjust it.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah, I guess pushing would be easier.
yeah. Well, push would be easier in terms of less energy. But
Yeah.
once you got the stroke down, you could do it with fairly easily, right? The topspin or the...
Yeah.
Well, it's still better.
I was getting it.
You were getting it.
Yeah.
But it was much easier with the underspin.
Yeah.
Did you try my suggestion of putting a little side spin on the underspin to regulate the depth of your return? No.
No. I was kind of placing it different.
The other thing is you hit any flat shots.
No.
Because the flat shots will turn into drives. That's how you can turn an underspin serve into a drive. Because it will come off, it comes off the table. All you need is about that much space and about that height when it's coming off the table to turn it into a flat drive. And it's a killer shot. I'm going to be looking at the video that Andras and I had. He won. We played 9 sets Thursday. He won 4, I won 5. And that's because I was trying. My back was hurting. And you have to, if you're in a tournament, you got a choice. You either play or you drop out. If you spent the money to go to the tournament and the time, you don't want to drop out. And so the other thing is, at the end of our play, I was tired as well. And so I lost a lot of points because of that. But it was worthwhile for me. Are there any recommendations that you have?
No.
Not now. Are you, were you okay with my explanation? Did I give you too much detail in terms of setting it up and describing stuff to you? Or too little detail? I mean, I can always shut up. The best way to shut me up is to do what I did, which is leave. Because I want to make comments, like anybody would when they see something. So I felt it was really worthwhile me leaving. Did you think it was worthwhile me leaving as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're freedom. You're free.
Yeah.
You're not worrying about what anybody's going to say at all. You're the only one that gets to criticize what's going on. Praise or blame yourself. Nice shot, me. Oh, lousy shot, me. How do I get that sucker higher? That's why I suggested you when you went with topspin to try to hit a high topspin. And when you did that, you started getting them on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the mistake I saw myself making. That's the only reason I suggested it. I saw myself, when I went with the high topspin, son of a gun, the thing went on. So then I went high topspin a little bit harder, and the thing went flatter and it still went on. And then I went harder, and it went into the neck. You know, so it's just the process of learning and adjusting. And we're 7 minutes over, I apologize.
Oh, no, sure.
But I really wanted to, you know, get some feedback with you, and it's on the video, so all this stuff will be there. I'll try to have it up tomorrow, but there's no guarantee.